Hello, everyone. I'm Eric Cox. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. Let's allow one moment for everybody to get settled. Thank you. Okay, fantastic. I know some people are still funneling in, but let's go ahead and dive right in. Again, I'm Eric. Welcome so much. Today is the final webinar of our January Demo Day series. The theme today is diverse industries, and 3 companies will present. So over the last 3 demo days, we've had 10 companies present, 3 in health and wellness, 3 in the sustainability space, and 4 in social impact. And you can visit the Netcapital YouTube channel to check out all of those. I added a link to that in the chat. Today, I'm excited to welcome Monitran, Petro Funders, and Sample Serve. As always, each of these companies is actively fundraising on the Netcapital platform, and I've added a link to each of those in the chat as well. A few housekeeping items to get us started. We will allow 5 minutes for each pitch, followed by 5 minutes of Q&A. Please use the Q&A functionality and not the chat function. Q&A makes it so much easier for me to track all those questions and helps me get to all, as many questions as we possibly can. So please do use Q&A. And we want this to be as interactive as possible. So please do ask questions. This is what it's all for. After all 3 pitches, each company will have a moment for closing remarks. So do stick around to the very end. So with all that being said, thank you so much again for attending, and let's go ahead and start us off with Monitran. Come on in here, Don.
All right, thank you very much, Eric. I'm going to start to share my screen here. Can you confirm that you can see the PowerPoint?
Looks great, Don.
Okay, thank you very much, and good evening, everybody. I am Donnie Belock, and I'm a senior advisor here at Monitran, and I'm here to pitch our business model and our technology, which combines blockchain and cryptocurrency to enable cheaper and faster global financial transfers. So a little bit about Monitran and our company. So we are a financial technology company, and we're based out of Delaware. And at the heart of Monitran is our asset-backed, redeemable, stable token, which is called Moneda. And Moneda enables us to perform all of the functions that we have designed as a business model. And in order to have these cheap, fast, global financial transfers, you need to be able to have a means of financial transfer which is stable. And the way we have Moneda currently stable is all of the Moneda which is in circulation is backed by interest-bearing US government securities. So every time a new Moneda goes into circulation and is out on the global market, it has that financial backing, which will maintain its value, and you can buy and sell directly at that price, and you don't have to worry about losing 20% of your cryptocurrency because on the open market it may have lost a lot of value overnight. And it also serves as a hedge against inflation. So it's interest bearing, so the assets which back the Moneda will grow over time. And it also can negate the risks of inflation by just actually accumulating additional capital assets behind the stable token. Now, we built this on the existing Stellar network, and this is what allows Moneda to be fast, cheap, and global. Stellar has done it right, and they've done it from the beginning, and there's no need to reinvent the wheel if there's an already existing blockchain platform out there which exists and does it correctly. So the Moneda token is out on the Stellar network right now, and there are no fees. There's no P2P transfer fees within the Monetran system. So you can, once you get your tokens into the Moneda business model and buy Moneda, you can then transfer them at will without fees. Now, a few features here of the Moneda token. We've removed a lot of the barriers, which allows for mass adoption. And so as one of the big features here is a federated ID, as we call it. It's plain text. It's effectively as simple as an email address, which allows you to transfer within the Monetran system very easily, and you know who you're sending it to. It's not just some anonymous text. We can have on-ramps and off-ramps at various global fiats. Right now, you can buy and sell with the US dollar, but we're looking to expand that over as many markets as we possibly can. And this allows for remittances, cross-border remittances that have about a 70% less fees than your typical global transactions. Now, a few market facts about how this is going to make money here. Well, there's $600 billion in global remittances right now. And if you just take a look at the US to Mexico model, if you get a 3% share of the current US to Mexico model, and based on our current fees, which are very low, that would allow for $10 million of annual revenue to Monetran. And then we all know that the internet is a multi-trillion-dollar market, which it really enables almost endless possibilities in markets that could benefit from any type of cryptocurrency. Now, where are we right now? Well, we actually just had a soft launch yesterday. The first Moneda were put into circulation. They are currently backed by physical assets. The first P2P transfers were made. And to be honest, right now, there is never a better time to invest in Monetran. We're hitting our milestones. We have a clear vision for the future. There's immense opportunity. So please check us out, monetran.com and on Netcapital. This is me back when I had shorter hair.
I was going to ask, who's that gentleman that snuck into your PowerPoint? That's not you.
I'll take any questions.
Yeah, that's perfect. Thanks. As the panel, the participants are adding into Q&A, why don't you just tell us a little bit more about your background and the rest of the team that is supporting Monetran?
Sure. So my background is actually in the electric power industry. I'm an electrical engineer by trade. I am an advisor to the CEO. Don has more of a financial and publicity background. We also have a great technology team where we've been building this from the ground up. Dave Olszewski is our chief technical officer, has several patents to his name in the tech industry, and really a really sharp, well-rounded team that we have developing all of this.
And so when you created Monetran, what was the problem in the market that you were solving, and how does Monetran specifically solve that problem?
Right now, the problem is if you want to have cross-border financial transaction, the fees are simply too high. If you want to take, say, the US dollars and send it to Mexico or Bolivia or Nigeria, you have to have, there's a large fee involved in that. And typically you can't just do small amounts of money. This allows for micro transactions of very small fees, and it can be done very quickly and very simply through the Monetran app. You can transfer your funds in 3 to 5 seconds, and the P2P transfer takes place.
Fantastic. And can you tell us a little bit about the competitive landscape? What are some of the other players doing in the space, and how do you differentiate from those?
Sure. So if you take a look at your normal cryptocurrencies, and I had a slide up before, everybody thinks of, like, say, Bitcoin. Bitcoin, they did it first, and we owe them a debt of gratitude. They did do it first, and they developed an amazing technology. However, that technology is outdated, and it's not really it doesn't really allow itself for mass adoption. So what we've done is we've taken a lot of those barriers. Right now, Bitcoin might be worth $40 today, or $40,000 today, and $30,000 tomorrow. Right now, Moneda is right now is a conversion of 25 cents per moneda, and it will stay 25 cents. It is stable. And if you're going to invest, if you're a merchant, you need stability. You need to be able to know that if you're going to accept a cryptocurrency, when you go to redeem it, maybe at the end of the week or end of the month, when you reconcile and transfer it to fiat currency, you know it's going to maintain that current value and it's not going to fluctuate. And so for any of these large merchants, if they want to actually get into this space, they need to have that assurance of that stability to make that investment.
Yeah, so one thing that sounds like it's unique about Monitran is that you are working with fiat. You're kind of working within the institutions a little bit. So can you talk to us about the kind of the financial partners that you're working with already?
Yes, so there is a bit of a hybrid model. I mean, everybody looks at the decentralized cryptocurrency model, and Moneda is decentralized. Stellar is decentralized. It is a public ledger. You can follow, you know, where the coins are going, the tokens are going. But in order to have mass adoption, at least right now, everybody really still deals in their own local fiat currency. And you need to have a bit of a hybrid approach to work with financial institutions. And right now, we have the ability to buy and sell with the US dollar. Our future landscape would be to expand into other markets, feasibly any fiat currency that we can transfer between the local fiat and the cryptocurrency. And once that cryptocurrency, once the Moneda is in circulation, you can move it about very quickly, very easily, globally, and then just wherever it ends up. When you want to transfer that into a fiat currency, you can go ahead and you can do that.
Last question here, and I know you really touched on it in the PowerPoint, but can you walk through all the pieces of your revenue model? I heard about 3%, but I know there's a couple other moving parts. Can you dive in there before we switch over?
Sure thing. So the business model is there are fees that Monitran takes upon the purchase of Moneda and upon the redemption of Moneda. So right now they are quite low. They are posted on our website. And if you were to go and open an account right now, which you can do, we are live. We have, you can do a bank transfer. Monitran does take a small fee as part of the purchase of that. You are now on the Monitran system. You can move the Moneda around globally. And then when you go to redeem it back into the fiat currency via bank transfer, there is another fee involved in that. And that would be similar if it were, you know, redeemed in, say, Mexico and the Mexican peso, and there would be a fee taken when you redeem in that fiat currency. And like I said, we all know global commerce, and this lends itself to be very, you can expand to large global markets. And right now, I mean, just using an example of the US to Mexico market, if we were to get a 3% penetration into the US to Mexico remittance market, at our current fees, that would be $10 million in annual revenue for Monitran. And that is only one market.
Awesome. Thanks for diving into that, Don. I really appreciate that. Thanks so much for the participants who are asking questions. Let's continue to keep this as engaging and interactive as possible. So thanks, Don. Up next, we're going to keep the party going with Petro Funders. Maurice, why don't you come on in and tell us a little bit about Petro Funders? You're muted, brother. And if you can go to full screen too, that would be great. Or
yep, let's do that.
Mode.
All right, I am the CEO, and my name is Maurice. I'm the co-founder and CEO of Petro Funders, and we are an online platform that's offering a modern approach to investing in the oil and gas industry. So the problem that we are addressing is oil and gas in general is a older industry, right? It's typically really hard for smaller oil and gas companies to raise capital, and equity crowdfunding has not yet entered into this sector to serve it in a way that'll be mutually beneficial. So investors themselves, likely investors who will want income from this particular industry, don't have an easy way to access any type of products associated with the oil and gas sector. That's where we have a solution in terms of our platform. We have built a platform that will be transparent and easy to understand and easy to use. We'll also have some ESG standards, which have become very popular amongst investors looking to access investment products, whether it be retail investors who are working a 9-to-5 and want to invest into the oil and gas sector, or they be higher up investors on the institutional side who also want to invest. Everyone's looking for these ESG standards to make sure they're investing responsibly. And we will be inclusive of that as we build out our products. And our investment products are summarized here. So similar to some of our peers, such as Yield Street, Realty Mogul, who offer these particular investment opportunities in real estate, we're going to be bringing that model to the oil and gas space. But instead of having actual assets for people to invest in, we're going to have these investment fund products, where our royalty fund, as an example, will make royalty income accessible to the masses, right? Our entire goal is to democratize access to investing into the industry. The royalty fund will give access to that particular type of revenue in terms of royalties and royalty income. And that's particularly attractive today as many of the companies in the oil and gas market don't have access to capital. So they will go and want to divest of certain royalty interests, and we will be there to purchase those and ultimately distribute those returns to investors. So many investors view that as a safer investment currently, since the oil and gas community is feeling quite a different, a volatile industry in terms of the price and commodities. But we'll also have multiple types of products. So these two, the other one is our well repair fund, which is exactly what it sounds like. As companies have wells that are broken or need fixing, many of them don't have the capital in-house to fix those wells. We will be helping provide capital, and thus getting the lion's share of the return up until a certain point. Again, it will be the same conceptual part in terms of how it works for investors. They'll be able to access this particular investment product. We will then deploy that capital and distribute the returns back to the investors. So quite a different approach in terms of crowdfunding, but this will be our way of how we bring it to the oil and gas market. In terms of our business model, this is how we make money. So there'll be the investors on the right side that will represent the crowd. There'll be the platform in the middle and fund management in the middle. This will be the Petro Funders platform. We will have fund products. So instead of your typical assets that may be real estate or art or different securities, we'll have our fund products that I just mentioned and showed housed there. And the way we will make money is in a few ways. There'll be a small management fee that we will charge back to the platform. And then when there are returns that are distributed back to the investors, we will also take a very small amount of that. And then we have this part called economic alignment at the top. And this will be something that's rarely or fairly unique to this space. We will be investing right alongside our investors, and this will create some economic alignment so that we wouldn't do something with your money that we wouldn't do with our own. And that's a function of our team. That's a function of our background in the oil and gas industry, which I'll get to here in a bit. But that'll be the three main ways that we will be making money as a company. In terms of the market opportunity, big picture, oil and gas prices used to be higher back in 2014. If we're looking at the price of oil, that's come down since. We got a little bit of relief, and then it crashed last year. And then COVID-19 hit, and the demand kind of put a ceiling on that price. And currently, there's still a bunch of ceilings when it comes to demand due to COVID-19, right? People aren't moving around. Freight isn't moving, and it's not just a U.S. problem. It's a global problem. It's a global market problem. So that'll be pretty unpredictable in terms of how that affects the price moving forward. And many people would ask, well, how does that affect Petro Funders? And that's one great thing about our business model. We're not an oil and gas company. We are a fintech-powered crowdfunding platform that allows access for people to buy income-producing products at a low, right? So currently, while the market is in a volatile state and in a lower state, many companies will be divesting of assets, and we will be able to make sure that our community of investors who are signed up to the Petro Funders platform will benefit from that in a large way. and they will be able to leverage our team and invest with confidence. So getting to the team, myself, I'm come from, all of us come from the oil and gas industry. We have a combined experience of over 100 years in the industry. Myself, I'm the co-founder and CEO. I hold a degree in petroleum engineering. My other co-founder, Ryan Workin, also holds a degree in petroleum engineering. And then Steve Gornick and Scott Sloane are just two of our members. We have 6 people on our core team currently. And Steve Gornick, he's been in the business for over 30 years now, evaluating oil and gas properties all over the US. And Scott Sloane, also a 30+ year guy. He's worked all over the world. He comes from the BP area, having been CEO and holding numerous corporate positions with that company. But also he has a massive amount of experience doing deals within the US. So he's joined the team, and we're really happy about that. We also have an advisory board with Gordy Bannister, Steve Coombs, and John Wright, Dr. John Wright. And this advisory board is also really key within the industry when it comes to making sure we're in the right deals, and we're really having that path illuminated in front of us as we take on crowdfunding for the oil and gas market. It's particularly a business pattern and business model that has been proven over and over in the real estate world of commercial real estate, but it hasn't been brought to the oil and gas world just yet. And that's what this team will be looking to do. And our experience is what investors will be leveraging. So that is it.
Thank you so much, Maurice. I let you take 2 extra minutes there because my first question was going to be team anyways. And since you were on the team slide, it felt like, no need to get in the way of good things happening. And I'm happy to see a kind of a Reg CF platform leveraging Reg CF to create the technology. So that's kind of a little meta, but very exciting. The questions are already coming in, but before I dive all the way into that, can you talk a little bit more, and might have a slide for this, about the general market size and the market opportunity and how you think your product is differentiated to be able to capitalize on that market?
Yeah, sure. So the market opportunity for us, we believe there's a $1.5 billion serviceable obtainable market, and that's going to be what we feel that we can attract over the next 5 years. But our market sizes that we can gather is really going to be based on our ability to raise capital, right? We feel that we're in a market where we can place as much as we can raise, and we will be building bespoke products and tailored investment products that acknowledge where the market is at and where the market is going, not just for investors, but also for companies who need access to capital. And that'll be a key component of our business.
And then, answering a question here that just came in, without being overly political, how do you view the new administration as affecting your business model?
Yeah, that's a great question. We get this one quite a bit, and it's a bit counterintuitive, right? I mean, we're not an oil and gas company, so it's very much similar to the real estate market in 2008, where if you owned a home prior to the real estate market crashing, you were pretty upset. But if you were a buyer, you were pretty happy. So translating that into today's time, if you're an oil and gas company and need access to capital, you're hurting pretty bad, and new regulations introduced by the current administration won't help that. For that reason, many companies will need to divest of some of their assets at a large discount compared to where they would have done it without additional regulation. That's a major benefit to the Petro Funders platform, because we're allowing or creating the access for retail and institutional investors to invest, right? So they're able to buy and take advantage and leverage Petro Funders to access income producing through our platform.
Yeah, and yeah, for sure. Supporting small businesses is relatively bipartisan. So you've already had a successful offering on your platform, right? Can you tell us a little about that?
Yeah, so we actually launched a Reg D last year, in which we raised $1.91 million across a number of investors for a much more complex deal and complex product. And we have that economic alignment piece that I mentioned, and I will go to that slide. So a big part of our business is going to be that economic alignment piece, where we do a very large level of due diligence. And in that particular deal, when we got to the closing table, we noticed a few things in the legal and commercial paperwork that forced us to say, hey, we wouldn't do this with our money. We're not going to do it with yours. And we went ahead and refunded the money in that particular case. But that also is what led us to invest time and energy in developing these investment products, where they're not really tough to understand. It's catering to the masses, not just oil and gas guys. And that's kind of how we arrived at the place that we are today. And I'm seeing a few different questions coming from
I'm
the Q&A, some of the chat.
Yeah. I'm gonna sneak in this last Q&A before we move on to the next one. So compliments to your team's experience in oil and gas. What is your experience in financial services and crafting products in the oil and gas industry? Will you be originating will you be originating the underlying investment or follow on? Sorry about that, Bill.
Yeah, great question, Bill. We have a particular amount of experience in oil and gas. One of the team members that we didn't show was Marty Tate, and he is one of the authoritative figures when it comes to SEC crowdfunding compliance, but also law and legal when it comes to understanding how to curate and how to develop these products. So we're working in combination, where as an oil and gas team and exposed at the industry level from the highest levels, we know what assets are attractive, and we know where we can place capital for investors to receive the best distributions within the market at that particular time. But then we also have the expertise in Marty Tate and different legal groups that can help us curate that on the back end. So we will be essentially having different Reg A offerings that will allow investors to subscribe to these products, and then we'll place those products and the capital into cash flowing or income producing assets. So a little bit different than the originating model that some of the other platforms have. We won't be, I can't say we won't be having originators, but right now our business model is built on raising capital and placing capitals for those investors and distributing the returns back. So hopefully that answers your question, Bill, in terms of crafting products and our experience in financial services.
I think it did, Maurice. So thank you so much for that. Thank you for the participants for engaging with the Q&A. As a reminder, we have one more pitching questionnaire, and then we will end with closing remarks from all of the founders. So do stay tuned. But of course, you can go directly to netcapital.com, search for any of these companies by name or all of them. You can invest in all of them. That's totally fine. And so I just wanted to remind everybody that before we move on to the very last presentation. So with that being said, come on in here, Russell, and tell us a little bit about SampleServe.
Okay.
And I'm not sure if I need to do anything to allow you to do that. Nope, looks like we are. Yep, we're good to go. And if you can go into presentation mode, that would be great. Perfect.
Okay, so my name is Russell Schindler. I'm a geologist, and I've been doing environmental work for 33 years. Most people don't know this, but about 20% of all gas stations have some kind of ongoing environmental condition. There are other sources of environmental problems, pipelines, manufacturing facilities, dry cleaners, even your home heating fuel tank. But regardless of the source, all states have regulations. Some are stricter than others, but they all have regulations in terms of what you need to do. You have to do an investigation, and if necessary, conduct a cleanup. Part of the investigation is requires detailed reports, and these are required by law. You have to do this. These reports are complicated. Basically, what you're trying to do is determine where the contamination is, where it isn't, what the concentrations are, and which direction it's heading. So these reports detail all that information, and these reports typically take days or weeks to generate, commonly done 4 times a year, and they're about $2,000 to $4,000 each. So there's a ton of money spent on just one project every year generating information about the condition of the contamination. One of the other problems in the industry is that most work is done and organized using like Excel. They go out in the field and they write down data on paper forms. They fill out sample bottle labels by hand. They're doing laboratory instructions, commonly called chain of custody, filling those out by hand. And then all that information goes back to the office and somebody types it in. Typically, you know, there's problems reading other people's handwriting. So it's a huge problem. The solution, the sample serve solution to this antiquated method for doing work is a 4-part platform. The first part is a project management tool where you go in and you set up the schedule, you communicate directly with the laboratory, what bottles you're going to fill. The second part is a mobile field app where you're going to actually record all your data, pictures, GPS, and everything. We also print sample bottle labels in the field at the time of sampling that have a QR code, which allows the third part of our platform, a lab app, which you can see here. And the lab app can actually scan those QR codes in just a matter of seconds. That amount of bottles you see right there used to take about 30 minutes of data entry. And then once the lab's done with the analysis, we're able to take all that information and generate all the common graphics that you just saw. We can generate those in just a matter of seconds. The environmental engineering services market is a huge worldwide market. This year is expected to be $38 billion. By 2025, we expect it to be about $44 billion. And it's all driven by ever increasing environmental regulations and environmental liability. Our business model here, it's pretty simple. We actually give away our project management tool. We give away the field app. We give away the lab app. The way we generate money is by charging for the reports. So it's pretty simple. You give us your data, we turn around and sell it back to you in well-organized, easily customizable reports. And we base our pricing based on the number of samples collected. So a large refinery is going to be more expensive than a small corner gas station. We've also just launched another new product. It's actually the first time that I'm publicly announcing this. We had some laboratories asking us for a simpler product for drinking water sampling. A lot of drinking water sampling is kind of one person doing one sample, like a residence doing their sampling or a home inspector doing their sampling. And so we built a product to handle one sample at a time. We're very good at it. We already have paying customers, and it's a progressive web app, very simple. And we're actually selling this as a white labeled product so that the two laboratories that they can turn around and market themselves and sell to their customers. So, and we're charging $2.50 per sample on that. So we're raising $250,000. We're on Netcapital. Our total raise is going to be $500,000. It's a bridge round. We've already got paying customers. We're doing well and growing pretty quickly. And we anticipate a larger round in the coming quarters, second quarter of 2021. And we're going to use this money to just continue the growth, marketing and sales support, basically. And that's it. Any questions?
Thanks for that, Russell. As we allow people to kind of digest that and start asking the questions, my understanding is that you already have 2 patents awarded, right, for the digital chain of custody. Can you talk a little bit about what that protects and how there might be other industries to go into from here?
Yeah, so with our digital chain of custody is unique in that it actually allows you to transfer samples, and samples are like evidence at a crime scene. You have to document who collected the sample and how it got to the laboratory and when it, who touched it and when and where they were. Well, we do that digitally, and we have a 3-part authentication. Actually, it's 5-part. Your username and password. Every time you collect a sample, you're going to sign your name on the device, and then you're also going to take a selfie. Our patents include other biometrics like facial recognition, fingerprint, retina scan. We don't build those in yet because we don't feel that that's necessary. But that's really, we've got 2 issued patents on that digital chain of custody process. And that's really the cornerstone of all of our value that we provide. And so we're getting a lot of inquiries. We launched Sample Serve H2O. We're about to launch Sample THC. The cannabis industry is really huge, and they've got a lot of requirements that require sampling as well. So we also think that we can even get into the forensics market because of the digital chain of custody that's needed when you're collecting evidence at a crime scene. So we got drinking water, cannabis, possibly crime scene. There's air sampling. We had a fisheries guy call about doing fish sampling and being able to take fish tissue samples and send them to a lab. And we even had a fire arson investigator contact us about our digital chain of custody. So when he's collecting evidence at a fire scene, he's got good digital chain of custody all the way to the lab.
Yeah, I think that's really interesting, Russell. Questions coming in. So what is your traction to date in terms of number of customers, revenue? Do you need to contract separately with each service station one at a time, or is it kind of a scale, more scalable model?
So our traction, like right now, we've got about 65 BP Amico sites on our platform, about 50 some 7-Eleven projects, and we've got a lot of other small users, some smaller energy companies, the pipeline drilling companies. They all have issues, right? And so they're looking for low cost alternatives compared to the traditional consulting industry model. And so we're able to do the same work and sometimes even better for a lot less money. And so last year's revenue was about $120,000. And, we're expecting that to be significantly better in years to come.
Great, thank you. And my understanding is the industry standard is very much handwriting, but can you tell us about what the competitive landscape looks like and some of the differentiating factors that SampleServe has?
Yeah, so there are a couple of companies that are doing like a piece of what we do, where you can go, they're basically form building companies where you create a digital form, you type it out, and then you can send the answers to those questions somewhere. There's no one doing field printing of labels like we do. There's no one that actually has a lab app that receives that data. So you can send them an Excel file, but they can't take the samples and scan them like you saw the video there. So we kind of take the data and the physical samples full circle. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the samples are typically done quarterly. So every 3 months, you're out there doing it again. And we allow the person to just replicate the work they did before. They can edit it if they want to. And so it really saves a ton of time on the management of those projects.
Absolutely not. And I realize now that I think I skipped a step that I traditionally ask. I know you told us a little bit about your geology background, but can you tell us about the rest of the team and how important they are?
Yeah, so I've been doing environmental work for going on 34 years now. We've got a CTO, a guy named Frank Swires, great guy. He's got about 23 years. He's a computer engineer, and he's 22 years working for Thomson Reuters, which is a big software accounting company. So he's built all kinds of apps and products. He's super talented. He's been a great asset. We got another guy named Eric Bergsma. He's our controller or financial guy. We just had a person join our board. He's also going to be doing sales for us. A guy named Paul Goodall. He is, when I say just, 2 days ago, he joined the company, and he's going to be doing sales for us. And he's been doing high level sales for big engineering companies for 30 plus years. So he knows all the top people at all the oil companies and laboratories and other big engineering companies. So we're expecting, again, 2 days ago, he just started, but we're expecting huge returns out of his participation.
Great, yeah, and I know the report generation and access to those reports is where you get your revenue from. Can you dig a little deeper into the details? Is that how much per report, and then are there other ancillary revenues that you think are significant?
Yeah, so projects scale differently based on the number of samples collected. So we were looking at, right, you got a huge refinery where they might pay $50,000 just for the report preparation time, not the field activities. And so you got the corner gas station, it might be a $2,500 bill. So, we kind of struggled with how do we bill to where the value replicates the participation or the cost and the size of the project. And so we looked at it per sample cost. One, it allows people to predict what their cost is going to be because they typically know how many samples they're going to collect. And then it also scales with the size of the project, right? So $15 seems to be, I've yet to have somebody say we're too high priced. So I suspect we might be able to actually bump that price up as we go.
Thank you so much for that, Russell. Well, that concludes the pitch and Q&A section. So do stay in your seats. We do still have our closing remarks After our closing remarks, I'll make a couple of last little housekeeping mentions. But besides that, that'll end our regularly scheduled programming. So we're going to go in reverse order this time. Russell, and then Maurice, and then Don. I love ending off. Why should the participants here go directly to Netcapital and invest right now? So Russell, come on in.
Well, I would say the reason you want to invest right now is because it's, we've got a bunch of other products that we've got in the pipeline. Really, we just need to, get that wheel spinning and start to be able to generate some revenue and then be able to reinvest it into these other products. There's a big need for, data collection and, tracking. And so, and there's really no one doing what we're doing. So that's why I say it's a good time to get in.
Thank you so much, Russell. Maurice, after you're up next. Why should they go and invest now? And you're muted.
All right, just recapping, Petro Funders, we're a platform, a fintech power platform offering a modern approach to investing in oil and gas sector. And the reason you should approach Netcapital and go ahead and sign up and make sure you invest has to do with our traction to date online on Netcapital. Since launching on Netcapital last month, we've raised over $500,000 to date towards a little bit over $1 million max raise. There's about a month left on that time clock. And generally speaking, in terms of the overall market, that's really why you should invest, right? We're experiencing down market, and we're looking to democratize access when it comes to investors, both retail and institutional money, having access to better deals.
Thank you so much, Maurice. And last but not least, Don, why should they go in and invest in Monitran?
Well, Monitran is in a great spot right now. Like I said, our business model combines a lot of different technologies to allow for a cheap, fast, global financial transfers. And that's a $600 billion global market right now. And just carving out a small piece, like I said, even with just the Mexican, US to Mexico model and our current fees, that equates to $10 million in annual revenue for Monitran. And we've already proven and gone live with our US US crowd. Right now, you can use Moneda, which is at the heart of Monitran. You can buy it, you can sell it. It maintains a stable value. You can hold on to it, and it'll keep up with inflation. It'll negate some of the effects of inflation. And being that we've done a lot of the development work and we've proved our concept, we're ready to expand into new markets very quickly.
Perfect. Well, as always, this has been recorded and will be uploaded to the Netcapital YouTube account. Please feel free to share that link generously. And as always, all these companies are actively raising on Netcapital. So go ahead and head on in there, search them by name, and here's your opportunity to invest while you still can. This actually concludes our January Demo Day series. I can't believe we're almost at the end of January already. Feels like 2021 is off to the races in a very strong way. We will have more events in February and the rest of the year. So please do stay tuned and keep track of the newsletter as they come out, because that's the best way to keep track of what's happening at Netcapital. I'd love to take a big thank you for all of our panelists, Don, Maurice, Russell. Thank you so much for sharing with us about your companies. And I know that there's a whole bunch of team members behind you that make this all possible. So I want to thank them as well for allowing this to happen. And then, of course, lastly, but certainly not least, thank you to all the participants who came in, engaged with the Q&A. And these are fantastic questions. And we really like the idea of allowing the potential investors to get a better understanding and really meet the people behind the offering pages. So thank you so much for coming in and asking your questions. As always, I'm Eric. I'm a member of the Netcapital team. Happy to be here, and I will see you next time. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Eric.
Thanks.
Thank you.